A couple of quick tips I could provide for you guys on this lab is that first off, you want to make sure that, like I talked about before, is that we're using the same line of conductive circuit on our circuit board. We want to make sure our wires are nice and tight inside those holes. I want to make sure my knife switch is open when I connect this, and a couple settings on my power supply and my multimeter remain constant. Remember, we had set this at 15 volts. We had also set our voltage to be DC voltage. We had zeroed this out before we even started the lab, like earlier on in the video. And then I really don't mess with the power supply at all. All I want is 6 volts running through here, DC voltage. All right, so now we're gonna deal with our AC reading, which is gonna be essentially the third part of the lab, more or less. Now, here's the little deal is, since you're gonna use alternating current, then we're gonna have to change this up a little bit. The safest thing to do is to shut off your power supply and your multimeter. And the first step I would do is make sure that my multimeter is gonna read AC voltage. So that's gonna be a third button from your left, ACV. I'll make sure that that's what I'm gonna read. I will not change anything else on this multimeter. Moving over to the power supply. I am gonna have to have leads that are not connected to my DC side of my power supply. I'm gonna have to move that over to my 0 to 24 volts of alternating current. So this is a DC voltage side, this is alternate AC side. So I want to make sure now I'm going to supply AC voltage to my setup. I want to make sure I have leads coming out the AC side of my my power supply. Anyhow, what I want to do here is make sure, just like we did last time, is make sure that we are actually going to get the amount of voltage that we need. So if we want AC voltage, I'm going to go ahead and have to switch this from 0 to 24 DC to 0 to 24 AC. So the most volts I'm going to use is 24. And just like last time, I want to make sure that this power supply is actually providing AC voltage. I'll go ahead and connect my lead again, my double-ended, wrong one, my double-ended lead into my multimeter. And so this part is just checking to see whether you have power or not. And hey, the great thing about all this is it really kind of leads you to be a little more confident about working with electricity, and just to know that, hey, you're working with some kind of voltage that is safe to work with. So I believe in your lab manual, it's going to ask you to change this to 12 volts. And you can get to 12 volts if you're very careful about it. But similar to the first time we read this, is once I got this set up, I'm reading the same scale, and I still have 1.2, which relates to my 12. And I know that this is providing 12 volts of alternating current to my setup. After that, you're set to go, you're ready to go. So I'm gonna remove these prongs because I've already know that I got the power supply that I need. I'm gonna go ahead and provide some kind of power to my circuit. And I have the wrong prong. And this is gonna provide that power to my circuit. Yeah, so what I was trying to say was, this, as elementary or as simple as this might seem, it's really important you go through these labs and just to gain confidence with working with the electricity. They're all safe labs, and they allow you to learn certain things about electricity that's really going to be helpful throughout your life. All right, so I'm set up. I'm going to take these two and provide some power. First off, I'm going to replace this just like we set up number one with two 1,000 ohm resistors. I'm gonna set up my power across the whole circuit. If you notice, my knife switch is open, which doesn't allow the circuit to close. I'm set up, so once I close this knife switch, I know I should be getting a reading from my power supply. So again, I'm gonna go across resistor 1. I'm gonna record, well, I'll go across the whole circuit and I'll record that into my handout, my data table number 2 now. Data table number 2 is for AC voltage. So whatever AC voltage is present on my multimeter, which we would expect, I think you would know more or less what you should have. There's a reading right there. So that's going in your data table. I'll proceed just like what we did with DC voltage. I'll get a reading across resistor 1, record that. Resistor 2, record that. I'll then take resistor number 2 out. And pretty important, this is now resistor number 3 in your data table. I'll get a reading there. This is resistor number 4 in your data table. I'll get a reading there. And that's essentially what's going to lead you into some discussion questions. And most importantly, you're going to run into a couple of problems here and there, and you're going to want some explanation. You'll probably be calling me over to your table, but just some real simple things to think about is, these components have to be nice and tight on your circuit board, along with your wire-ended leads. So you want to make sure there's great contact there. When you read your multimeter, just another tip is you want to be right in front of the multimeter, eye level with that reading right there, so you get a real nice reading on it. Simple things like, am I on DC voltage when I should be on AC voltage? Did I ever move it from the 15 volt multimeter reading? And that should be something that should stay constant. Moving over to your power supply, simple little things is, am I on DC voltage or AC voltage? That's depending on what part of the lab I'm working with. Every now and then you're gonna run into maybe a problem where you have an overload of current and it's gonna pop a fuse right here. No big deal there. All this kind of saying is the current's too high, and what you need to do is bring down the current, and you can reset that safety little feature that you have on your power supply. But this little white button would pop out, and that's how you would know that you've tripped the fuse. Other than that, have some fun with it. It's some safe stuff to work with. Don't do anything that you shouldn't be doing. Be nice and neat about how you handle your materials and your workspace, and please put everything back away the way you found it when you came into class. Thank you.